Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment would protect our country and American families in the event of a national emergency by requiring the Department of Energy to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at a competitive market rate. We all remember that President Biden chose to tap the SPR for political reasons as he tried to mask his failed energy policies that caused gas prices to soar. When President Biden took office, the average weekly price for a gallon of gas was $2.38. It was already $3.53 prior to Putin invading Ukraine, before hitting record highs last summer. Despite depleting our SPR, we still have a weekly average of $3.42. Since draining the SPR is to address an energy and inflation crisis of his own making, President Biden and his administration continue to abdicate their responsibility to replenish the reserve. In October 2022, the White House announced it would implement a first-of-its-kind rule establishing a system of fixed-price contracts for replenishing the SPR. Per the administration's policy, they intend to purchase crude oil for the SPR when prices are at or below about $67 or $72 per barrel. The untested fixed-price bid system imposed by the White House has allowed the administration to ignore its responsibilities to resupply the SPR to the detriment of the United States economy and national security. In January of this year, the DOE rejected bids from several producers to refill the SPR because the market rate for crude oil at the time was well above the administration's arbitrary fixed price. This deceptive policy gives the DOE a convenient excuse not to refill the SPR and keep it at record lows, leaving our nation less safe and prepared. My amendment would remedy this problem by requiring the DOE to use the commonly accepted index-based pricing bid process. Historically, the index-based bid process is used to solicit contracts to refill the SPR and is a standard pricing regime used in the global oil and gas market. Using this more accepted metric, DOE would competitively bid at the market rate for crude oil when buying for the SPR. This bidding system will ensure that DOE will meet its obligations to refill the SPR and not circumvent the obligation with an arbitrary price ceiling. Further, the federal government should not be a speculator in the crude oil market. The fixed price scheme dreamed up by the White House ignores the basic economic realities of how petroleum products are traded in the marketplace. If the administration is concerned about the price of oil not being a good deal for taxpayers, it should end its war on safe and reliable American energy. My amendment would ensure the SPR refill bid process reflects market realities rather than the price mandates of the administration, and restores our strategic petroleum reserve, which is desperately needed for our national security. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition to the amendment.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Frankly, Mr. Chairman, I have no idea why this amendment is being offered. It would force the Department of Energy to ride the roller coaster that is the oil futures market without any option to just pay a simple fixed price for a barrel of oil. So if oil goes up $20 per barrel between when DOE purchases oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and when it's delivered, well, that's too bad. We're now paying $20 per barrel more, and we'll have to buy less oil. So this amendment unnecessarily restrains DOE and makes purchasing petroleum products to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve more expensive. DOE recognizes as much when it issued a rulemaking last fall clarifying that it could purchase oil at a fixed price as common sense would dictate. There's no reason that it should be illegal for the Department of Energy to sign a contract saying that it will purchase oil for $70 per barrel. No reason that I can think of, except, of course, if you're an oil company that wants the Department of Energy to pay more to refill the reserve. But if you're an average American, this amendment is a raw deal. It constrains the Department of Energy's usage of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is partially responsible for the tremendous over $1.50 per gallon fall in the cost of gasoline we've seen since last summer's peak gas prices. And I'll note that when the Department of Energy issued its notice of proposed rulemaking on this last summer, industry did not object. In fact, the Department of Energy only received one comment on the rulemaking from Employ America that was unambiguously positive. That comment stated, and I quote, that the rule change is an important step to reduce the volatility of oil prices over the short and medium term, improve our nation's energy security, and a necessary step to ensure that acquisition procedures more fully align with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve's governing statute, unquote. So this amendment would put the usage of index pricing on par with the Department of Energy's duty to acquire petroleum products for the reserve as cheaply as possible. That mission is, I don't understand that mission. It will only serve to diminish the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So I urge all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to reject the amendment, and with that, I'll reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from
Mr. Speaker,
the gentleman is recognized?
I yield my time to my friend from North Dakota, Mr. Armstrong.
The gentleman has the remaining 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this amendment. The amendment is necessary because it addresses the Biden administration's mismanagement of our nation's Strategic Petroleum Reserve. President Biden has drained the SPR to the lowest level since 1983. More than 40% has been liquidated in less than 2 years. The Department of Energy has no meaningful plan to refill our strategic stockpile. Instead, the department created new rules to allow it to use fixed price bidding. As we expected, the Biden administration's price fixing scheme is failing. When DOE put out its bid, there were no takers. The SPR is at its lowest level since 1983. We must replenish it as soon as possible to protect our economy from a true supply interruption. I thank the gentleman from Kansas for offering this amendment, and I urge my colleagues to join me in support.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New Jersey. I think he yielded.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman, Kansas.
Mr. Speaker, the common sense amendment restores the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to protect our nation's security. I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of this common sense amendment as well as the underlying bill. And with that, I yield back the remainder of my time. Thank you.
Gentleman yields.